In China, there was once a man who liked pictures of dragons, and his clothing and furnishings were all designed accordingly. His deep affection for dragons was brought to the attention of the dragon god, and one day, a real dragon appeared before his window. It is said that he died of fright. He was probably a man who always spoke big words, but acted differently when facing the real thing. This is a verse from one of my all-time favorite books, the Hagakure, the Book of Hidden Leaves, also known as the Book of the Samurai. This is a significant text used in the 2000 crime drama Ghost Dog, Way of the Samurai. Now, I bring this up because becoming delusional seems to be one of the greatest challenges for any martial artist to ever face. So I want to discuss two things here: self-defense and combat arts. Because for the most part, the street is an entirely different world than the dojo. There has always been this debate about effective styles, what works, what doesn't, what is fake, what is real. So to get things going, I'd like to start this off with a quote of my own. The martial arts is not about style or competition. It is about discovering and strengthening your weaknesses. And in matters of self-defense, it is about not letting others exploit those weaknesses, but experience your strengths. So folks, let me tell you a story. But before I do that, I want to make it very clear that most people who struggle with the realities of the martial arts are martial artists, because none of them really knows what works and what doesn't for other people. They can't know, simply because they cannot predict the future. Now, this is not a hard concept to grasp. It is not that profound of a statement. So why is there any debate at all? I'll tell you why. And the story goes like this. Now, this is kind of funny when you think about how this all went down. Back in 1993, there was an event held in Denver, Colorado, a pay-per-view event known as the Ultimate Fighting Championship. And I remember watching this on pay-per-view at the time, and it was awesome as a teenager into martial arts. Rorion Gracie was one of the 5 founders of this event. And the idea was to put different fighting styles up against each other in an octagon, no holds barred, you might get badly hurt type of a match. And I believe it was based on a video series produced by the Gracie family, demonstrating Gracie students beating experts of different styles. Royce Gracie, Rorion's little brother, was a competitor in that event. That he won. And ever since, the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu style has dominated that arena, and here is why. As an ex-competitor, I can tell you that in a tournament-style fight scenario, like a MMA event, you can train for that precise scenario. And because the scenario is exactly the same every time, you can become very proficient in the techniques that work for that specific scenario. And the Jiu-Jitsu style is king in that scenario. If, however, the rule is, well, you can't grapple, you see, now the scenario has changed and you just end up with a kickboxing match. You see, Royce Gracie was trained to win fights in that scenario. So if you think you're going to train traditionally in a dojo, which is a different scenario with different rules, and then step into the octagon and win, think again. And that is an issue for many practitioners. Folks, I understood a long time ago that whatever martial art I learned, forever how long, I knew that I may never have to use it, ever. So do you think people train like they do in these styles because they're just waiting for that one day? The point is, ultimately, winning a fight comes down to the person themselves, not the style. In other words, you can learn a style like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and become a master, but it doesn't mean you can compete as an MMA fighter. Take Bruce Lee, for example. His idea of martial arts was getting straight to the point. You see, the masters of the old days would fight each other using technique, using only traditional techniques, because the point was to see what fighting style or school was the best, not who was the best fighter. So fights between masters would last forever, just like in the old kung fu flicks. But see, Bruce Lee didn't believe in all that. There was no time for playing around. So when he went up against these same masters, he would beat them in under 2 minutes. Speaking of Bruce Lee, let's talk about the movies. Back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, we had martial art action stars. You know, Bruce Lee, Benny the Jet Arquez, Chuck Norris, Steven Seagal, Jackie Chan, Jet Li, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Bolo Young, Billy Blanks. All these guys and the like had jobs in these movies. And that was to be martial artists and show us some moves. Nobody was concerned about anything being fake. People just wanted to see their favorite martial artists in action. That's it. We didn't care about the plot or retro love scenes. We just wanted to see those guys and gals kick ass. That's it. Acting well was not that important. Now, what happened was, at a certain point in time, actors like Wesley Snipes would really show Hollywood that you can take a dramatic actor who is not an action star and make a better movie by showcasing their acting skills and combat skills, like in Passenger 57 and Blade, through choreography and short-term training. Meaning, there were a lot of actors and actresses in those days that may have been or may have not been martial artists, but you would never know. Not to saying they were any good, but with today's choreography and special effects, anyone can look good. Look at the Matrix cast, the Liam Neesons. There are so many actors and actresses that you would have never thought would be fighting action stars. Today, the art in martial art has been removed, and so now everyone is just fighting. They are mixed martial artists. I think this is the correct approach if you want to compete in full contact sports in that arena. Yes, absolutely. There's no time for kata when you're just training to beat the crap out of somebody. And so different styles of fighting are dying off. And I don't blame any Asian country for trying to hold on to their traditional styles. I hear people all the time, "Oh, that stuff doesn't work. That's bullshit. MMA is the best, yeah." Well, in most cases it will be, in the ring. Because you're essentially training to be a soldier. And we are talking about tournament fighting here. Besides, many of these MMA fighters are beasts. What do you expect to happen once they close that distance gap? But of course, size doesn't matter, right? In my experience, not everyone wants to fight. When I was competing, most of the female martial artists, for example, didn't want to fight. They liked the open forms, the weapons forms, the musical forms, the choreography. And as a live spectator, this tended to be more entertaining. And as an athlete, it was more enjoyable. The fighting division is not for everyone. These days, I can't watch events like the UFC. At first, it was fun to watch all the different competitors in their different uniforms that identified their styles. Now, everybody has the same style, and everybody is in their underwear. I'm not watching that crap. I want to see some gi chokes, some clothes getting ripped off, some hair pulls. I want to see someone throwing a pair of nunchucks on the side. Maybe that's too much, but you get the idea. It's not like the Royce Gracie days of the UFC. So today, we have this debate about what works and what doesn't. And it is strange because the martial arts was never all about just being able to physically fight someone. It was also about being clever. It was about giving the illusion of having supernatural powers. I mean, this was the idea behind the ninja. They were mainly scouts, sometimes silent assassins. They tried to elude their enemies into thinking that they were some type of ghost or demons. And they weren't dumb. They weren't fighting anybody. They would just blow a poison dart in your neck on the low and be out. And that is how it remains today. The reality is, you cannot expect to use your martial arts skills on the street. I'm sorry, Mr. Miyagi, but it is not for self-defense only. It can't be when people have guns and cars. You've got to find another way. Other than that, it's for exercise only. Jiu-jitsu included. You can't grapple with an attacker on the street unless you have the intent of putting that attacker to sleep, and even then, you have to pray that it's just one attacker. You can't apply an armbar or rear choke on more than one person at a time. And it is quite dangerous to grapple with strangers in an uncontrolled street fight. Because in reality, people usually don't attack you by themselves, unless they're drunk or really pissed off. Now, it is good to have some basic combat skills, and jiu-jitsu, karate are very basic, good places to start if you're interested. One, because many instructors of these Japanese styles have training in both, such as the Goshinjutsu style. This covers your distance fighting and groundwork, and I firmly believe keeping it basic and to the point is the best approach. Karate, jiu-jitsu, these two arts are right in between a very fluid defensive style such as Kung Fu and a very combative style like Krav Maga. But more than that, in matters of self-defense, in this day and age, you need to learn some public safety and survival skills. These days, everyone is calling bullshit on other martial artists. That's all I hear out of the mouths of people who train as if they are going to fight in a war. They call BS as if they have been in numerous street attacks, to be able to definitively tell you all what works and what doesn't. You know what works, folks? Bullets work. Knives work. Bats and blunt objects work. And this is what attackers usually attack you with. What kind of an idiot criminal attacks you with no weapons? You know what else works? Running. Where are all the schools teaching you how to run away effectively? I mean, doesn't that seem like a more practical and natural way of staying safe than sticking around for a fight? A tiger is going to attack you. What do? Do you grapple with it? Do you try blocking its strikes? Kicking it in the groin? Huh? Do you try a spinning back kick to the ribs? Can you use the death touch on a tiger? Do you try talking to it to calm it down? No, you freaking run or you're done. Unless you have a firearm or better. Everybody knows that. Tigers can easily kill a person, and a person could easily kill a person. Well, that's a tiger. Oh yeah? Well, that's people. So why would you look at an attacking stranger any differently? I know that there are some macho adrenaline junkies out there who don't like running away from a fight, but at least if you're running away from a street attack,
you live to fight another day.
Folks, there is first proactive awareness, and then there is self-defense, in that order. Hopefully you never get to the next step. If you really want to decrease the risk of you having to actually physically engage in combat with someone, there are a few things to consider, and some things do involve lifestyle changes. When I was younger, I enjoyed nightclubs, bars, things of that nature. But that is where I've been threatened, attacked, robbed. Because criminals like to prey on people that are loaded up on something. And they like to attack people when they least expect it. And many fights are the results of drinking. I'm sorry, but you can't be out getting drunk. Did you know drunk people are like target practice for MMA fighters? You know how many stories I've heard of MMA fighters having to choke someone out for being a violent drunk? If you are in large crowds all the time, that puts you in a static zone, meaning you would have a very difficult time moving around when needed to because of all the other people around you. Of course, I don't need to mention avoiding dark alleys and subway stations. What I'm getting at here is we all need to be more sober-minded, meaning we cannot continue to bury our faces in these screens. We are going to dive deeper into this topic as we go, but more so on the topic of survival in today's world. But before we go, I want to talk about one more thing. There are people out there who have tried to demonstrate what they can do with energy. There are dozens of these demonstrations and videos everywhere. Some of these videos look good, some look like garbage. And many of these people are quite credible in the martial arts world. Now, if you're a Shaolin monk on tour, that's one thing. But if you're trying to demonstrate or teach energy attacks or the dim mak, throwing air punches that hit your students from a distance, super fast, flappy hand techniques, yes, expect people to laugh at you. It's ridiculous. If you really know how to do something like that, nobody should know it. You pass that down to your children, maybe a close trusted student, and that's it. It's not for the public. Another film favorite of mine is Bloodsport. You see, this guy wasn't throwing punches in the air that magically hit his targets. He wasn't electrocuting people on contact. He broke a brick, knocked some guys out with very precise and fast punches and kicks, and a little blurred vision fighting. And that's about the extent of it. And there's nothing magical about any of that stuff. Well, maybe the brick exploding. But would anyone remember that scene if it didn't explode? When approaching the martial arts, you of course want to disillusion yourself from what you see in the movies, and from what the common martial arts instructor tells you. Because the martial arts world is saturated with martial artists who suck. Stay away from those Cobra Kai dojos of the world. At the end of the day, just like the tiger, the only true effective way of stopping a deadly attack is with a gun. On that note, I leave you with these words. In one's life, there are levels in the pursuit of study. In the lowest level, a person studies but nothing comes of it, and he feels that both he and others are unskillful. At this point, he is worthless. In the middle level, he is still useless, but is aware of his own insufficiencies and can also see the insufficiencies of others. In a higher level, he has pride concerning his own ability, rejoices in praise from others, and laments the lack of ability in his fellows. This man has worth. In the highest level, a man has the look of knowing nothing. These are the levels in general, but there is one transcending level, and this is the most excellent of all. This person is aware of the endlessness of entering deeply into a certain way Arid never thinks of himself as having finished. He truly knows his own insufficiencies and never in his whole life thinks that he has succeeded. He has no thoughts of pride, but with self-abasement knows the way to the end. It is said that Master Yagyu once remarked, "I do not know the way to defeat others, but the way to defeat myself."